This is she, and I am here to speak about parenting and my view on parenting. Wow. Okay. So, what is parenting? Apparently, parenting is when the parents keep their children safe. Parenting is when they protect their children. Parenting is when they love their children. Parenting is when they support their children. Parenting is when they keep their children out of trouble. Parenting is when they keep their children within a stable family unit, which is odd from a few perspectives. How is it possible to keep children out of trouble, to keep children safe, to keep children secure, to keep children protected in this world? And then the parents, with their very young children, fear for their children's future. Will I be able to afford my child's education? Will my child be able to get a job? Will my child be able to sustain themselves in this world independently? What would happen to my child if I would die? Would my child be okay? Where would my child go? Parents raising their children with fear. Everything stems from fear within a family unit. The parents' first fear of their child is keeping their child safe. Keeping a child safe stems from fear. If fear didn't exist, the necessity for safety did not exist. Keeping your child protected stems from fear. If protection weren't required, fear would not exist. Giving your children a stable foundation. Why? Because this world is not stable, and then you try and give them a stable foundation within the family unit. But then the fear comes again of what happens when your child leaves the home. Fear of influences, drugs, alcohol, sex. Keep them away from it. It is wrong to do that. Only a handful of irresponsible children abuse drugs, alcohol, and sex, and then a worldwide fear is spread like a disease. And then the child feels constricted and constrained because it's not explained or understood why in the first place it is not allowed. Instead of having the child actually experience it for themselves to make their own conclusions. It is the parents that believe that the children are irresponsible and not grown up enough to make their own choices by themselves. Go and experience it. Go and test it for themselves. And because of that, just because of that one point, that parents believe that their children are inferior to them in some way, they create and manifest that irresponsibility. Manifest that shame the parent experiences when the child ends up in jail because of alcohol abuse or drug abuse, or ends up in hospital. Who created that? Who creates the children of today? The parents. The parents are the greatest influence. And that's why this world is how it is today. It's because of the parents and the parents before them and the parents before them. So obviously, there must be something wrong with the parenting relationship with the children of this world, clearly. There is a problem in this world. The problem is children. The problem is the parents' relationship with the children. Children are being suppressed. Children are being taken for granted. Children's insight, children's views, children's voices are not being heard. Why is that? Who said, has anyone ever given a child an actual chance to speak, to give insight, to give views? Views about, child, what do you see in this situation? What is your perspective? What do you choose? How did you experience yourself? But of course parents won't ask that. Why? Because children are not being educated in this world. They cannot speak. They cannot express their vocabulary in any way whatsoever of what they're experiencing, because the educational system is suppressed. Have a look in the world. Does any child have a proper vocabulary to actually explain to their parents or to anyone what they're feeling and experiencing inside themselves? No. I wonder then, why does the world want to suppress the voice of the children through the atrocity that is called education of this world? And parents are apparently doing a good thing to have to send their children to school, because this is the way the world is set up. If you don't go to school, you don't get a job, you don't get money, and you don't survive. Simple equation. But then even that foundation of themselves, which is supposed to be school, which they learn to express themselves, vocabulary, words, they learn it from as a separate entity. Learning words to shove into their minds, not as an expression of themselves. Does any parent support that? No. They do what the governments tell them to do. They do what society tells them to do. They do what the world tells them to do. Send your child to school. If the child doesn't go to school, your child doesn't get a job, your child doesn't get money, your child won't survive. Greatest fear of parents all over the world. That's the one singular fear that has them obligated to send their children to school. Wasting money. Transforming the children into robots. That's where the actual influence is. It's the strangest thing. Parents fear influence. Parents want to protect their children, but they send them to the very places where the most extensive influence occur, where they're not safe, where they're not protected, most exploited, most vulnerable to influence, and that is school. The one place which is set up as the illusion of trust, the foundation of the illusion of trust as the school systems, the educational systems. That's where your children are being mind influenced most extensively. Have a look at your children's school syllabus and what they learn. Is that anything to do with them in any way whatsoever? Are they able to express to you who they are, how they experience themselves, what they feel, what they see? They see much, but they don't know how to communicate it because they're not assisted and supported effectively enough to be able to do so. So where do children become educated? In the schooling systems, in the education systems, which is the cause of why this world is like this in the first place. What molds a child? The school, the education, not the parents. The parents in the beginning, yes. What has got the most influence is the schooling system. It is as though the schooling system, the education system, is the infiltration system into the consciousness system of existence, suppressing the very nature which childs are, which is unconditional life expression. And how many children speak and say they do not enjoy school? And everyone says, oh no, you have to go to school. Interesting that the children's voices are not being heard. And the parents are responsible. They're responsible for the children. Thus, parents are responsible for the way this world is currently being experienced. Thank you very much. This is She.